Shalom. Call Lord Yahweh Bahashem. Yahweh Shai Bahashem. Raha Hakadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. Peace and salutations to the hopeful elect scattered throughout the four corners of the globe. My name is Barad Ball, coming to you from the GMS camp of Indianapolis. And to all those listening and learning, to you I say Shalom. Especially to you so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians that make up the 12 tribes of Israel. Today, just going to the book of Deuteronomy, chapter uh, 15, reading 15 through 17. And of course, the, the topic of discussion for today is that uh, they want, elites want full control. And so let's read here. This is the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 15, verse 15. It says, and thou shalt remember that thou wast a bondman in the land of Egypt, and that the Lord thy power redeemed thee. Therefore I command thee this thing today. So, this first and foremost, the laws, commandments was given into the children of Israel, and this was, of course, they had servants, and in other cases there were situations in which um, those who were serving, maybe for a debt of some sort, could have been your own fellow kinsmen, according to the flesh, Israelites. And so there was a law, even as sometimes in which they would work so many years, and on the seventh year they would actually allow them to be completed as far as any of their debt. And so that's one point. But of course, you have a people, an elite group, who claim to be the people, that have our book and know of certain things, and they try to use it to their benefit, because their main point is, or what we have learned of them to be, is like the Proverbs speaks of the horse leech having two daughters crying, "Give, give." In other words, they're bloodsuckers, and they're finding only ways that they can control the masses of people, where they could fully benefit and pretty much cleave on or leech on, and pretty much have a continuous blood force, or excuse me, life force, that or host that they can cleave onto, that can keep them alive and keep them running well. Now, like it was mentioned in time, from brothers, um, and I always think of, the brother Kaya when he brings this out. One thing that he's mentioned is that the people that are over there, eh, they do not actually, in any case, they don't work. They don't work. Their schooling is paid for, and also uh, their health care. Everything is paid for them, and of course, we find that millions and billions of dollars that were actually coming from the Americas was sent over to fund um, this country, or that country. And so, as we can see, America now is under $1 trillion in debt, economic turmoil, in-house turmoil. Everything that is going on is pretty much uh, is going down within the system, and of course, they're still looking toward these people that are claiming to be the people that are in the land. They're still looking to support them with all the things that are going on here in the Americas. So going back to my point, all right. So verse 16, it says, "And it shall be, if he say unto thee, I will not go away from thee, but he loved thee and thine house, because it is well with thee." So two-thirds of our people are going to have this mindset when it comes to this current ruling nation. All right, these elites in this current world. But of course, the elect are going to be crying out to Yahweh Bashim Shai to be released from their captivity, and to actually uh, to be saved from the hand of our enemy. But, and it says, so there's going to be some that's going to love this house. They're going to stick with it all the way until the time it is burned down. And so, verse 17, it says, then thou shalt take an awl, AUL, and thrust it through his ear unto the door, and he shall be thy servant forever. And also unto thy maid servant thou shalt do likewise. So again, there was a situation within the law that you would put this all within the ear, and they would be your servant forever. Let's look up this all real quick. Salakia. Let's try Google. Or let's do it this way. Let's go to the etymon. Try to make this real brief, but you know, where's my etymon? I don't think this is it. Let's see. All served in the you. Let's see. No. Okay. But anyway, as you can see within the writing, it was a tool that was used to impale. Okay. And so let's get back. Let's get to these other points, um, because as much as they want to put it out there that they don't want to be around the so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians, at the same time they're putting, though they have that on the outside, they still have the spirit of Egypt. And what did the Pharaoh of Egypt, what the Lord had said? He says through Moses, let my people go. And Egypt, of course, they refused to let the people, the children of the Lord, go. And when you actually look at the history, they've always wanted to keep the so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians in a certain type of state or condition. Why? Because for as long as we are at the bottom, and we're always like the law of the scripture, Lord said, we will go to them for the one of all things. Uh, they and when we consider that going into the to another nation for the one of all things, clothing, housing, food, um, then we won't necessarily call on Yahweh Bashem Shai. And so, through the Spirit, the Lord is now lifting up the veil of who they are, and the children of Israel is no longer staying on them, which is the enemy who smote them, right? But now we're calling on Yahweh Bashem Shai. We're forfeiting, saying all the things in which we thought was real or good in this world, we know it is to be evil. So we prefer to receive, um, um, we prefer to cleave onto the hand of the Lord, fall by the hand into the hands of the Lord, than unto the enemy. All right, so let's get this in Jeremiah. Jeremiah chapter 50, verse 33 says, thus said the Lord of hosts, the children of Israel and the children of Judah were oppressed together, and all that took them captives held them fast. They refused to let them go. So although they doing this whole ISIS, and you notice when you look at who's actually being attacked during that, who's being rounded up, it's Hispanics, Native Indians, and even now Judites. You're I haven't seen, and I could be wrong, but I haven't seen outside of that car plant, Ford, I believe it was, car plant, where it was bunches of Asians, Koreans. Um, Outside of that, I haven't seen where they've really truly snatched up like a Elamite, so-called, Indian, um, or haven't seen them pull up on any actual Japanese or any other nation. Really, it's just been the so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians, or even some of that are like from Poland or Sweden that came over. Because a lot of people who came into this land, a lot of them always spoke that how they came over in this land and they built the country and nation. You know, they migrated over here, and that's how they were able to receive their wealth, um, building up from the ground up. But you're not seeing a lot of them being taken up, right? Um, the Arabs, so called, those that have the chicken spots and the liquor stores and the gas stations. All right, but again, all that held them captive, excuse me, all that took them captive held them fast. They refused to let them go. So this is the I'm gonna play a couple videos, short videos, and just leading up to something that's going on here. This is something. Here we go.
No groceries. From September 12th, a shocking new supermarket rule comes into force. Without a government-issued photo ID, you will not be allowed to enter any supermarket in the UK, even for basic essentials like bread or milk. Officials claim it's to stop shoplifting and fraud, but critics say it will destroy daily life for millions. This means teenagers, pensioners without passports, and anyone who's simply forgotten their wallet could be turned away at the door. Supermarket.
All right, so we're gonna just play that brief portion, but here's another video. Oh, and then it would go away on me. Salakia. Um, let's see. Okay, well we'll leave it alone. Maybe I'll pull it up on a different video. Um, let's see.
Everyone, this is
There we go.
Dr. Sherry Tenpenny, and I want to do a quick update about a document that got passed by the United Nations this weekend called the Pact of the Future document. It's two parts, one on science and technology and one about the youth and future generations. It is quite egregious, and it was done by a procedure called the silence procedure, which makes it a pact. And if no one objected, it is automatically adopted and put into the record as being completely adopted. This is the World Health Organization's runaround, or end around. Since they were not able to get the World Health Organization treaty passed, they decided to take it to the General Assembly. And it is even more egregious than what the World Health Organization was wanting to get passed. Let me just read you something really quickly about what is inside of this pact that is now being accepted by 193 nations around the world and equally open-armed accepted by our current administration. It says that this is the power structure, fully digital and maximized for the control of the masses. Everyone will be expected to have a biometric digital ID that marks them not just as citizens of an individual country, but as a global citizen.
All right, so we'll stop there. You can actually, they have it here on the bottom left corner because it's actually um, freezing up on me. So I actually went to the chat GPT, and I asked a couple questions, and I'm not going to go through all of this. But the first one, it says, "What is the impact? What is the impact?" Is what I guess meant to say there, for the future document. Oh, excuse me. What is the pact for the future document? And um, that was passed. Please give detail. So it just shows you here what is the pact, and you can pause and read further, right? So Global Digital Compact, um, Sustainable Development and Finance Development. Okay, you see that, right? And then it says for youth and generation. See, what's being said is that they're looking to by next year, any child that is born in 2026, they will actually receive a digital ID, and it could very well be biometric. But let's go further. It says, so then it made a statement mm, it made a statement in here that I didn't ask it for, and I'm gonna get to it. So I asked here. I said, so everyone is to receive a digital ID, and then it says, no, the Pact for the Future does not mandate that everyone must receive a digital ID. Now, you know there is a thing called gradualism, and at one point in time, we were all using paper currency, and within the paper currency, prior to that, a lot of times people were using gold and silver, but then you went into checks, then you had paper currency, like the dollar, and then of course from the dollar you started to get this card, and from the card, we went from a time where they added a chip, and they were like, "Hey, do you have the chip?" Then it became from using the chip to put it within the machine. Then it became a tap to pay. From a tap to pay, also onto your phone, where you can just tap your phone, and of course, what is it? Your phone and your card attached to. A lot of times is on your hand, in your hand. So of course, um, now they're pushing, and again, there's other circumstances to it because it's also saying that the dollar is actually getting weaker, and that they're looking for a different type of system, and you also have people are going into the different uh, cryptocurrencies and bitcoins and things of that nature, and even the government supposedly has one that is to come. But to not get into far depth in that portion, here's another part. So it mentions that, and then I said what the pack actually says about digital. Um, as you can see it, it says bringing the digital divide. Um, It says ensuring inclusive digital infrastructure, so including everyone, right? And we always been talking about how, in times past, the first Babylon under Nimrod, that they had been in the process of pushing this one world government, all right? And of course, where everyone is under the rulership in this particular day and age, Esau Edom, so-called white man, and the head elites, the Amalekites. So then, if we look further, I go further down. I thought I asked it the question, and then in here I said I didn't ask if it was mandated. Is I said is the end goal for everyone to receive a digital ID? And it says thanks for the clarification. Right? It says is the end goal for everyone to have a digital ID? It says yes, in principle, for those who want access to modern services, especially in development context. Look, so now you got the UN, and partner organizations like the World Bank support the idea that digital ID can help access healthcare, education, banking, reduce fraud, enable online services, ensure legal identity for all. All right. So then, of course, it went into some other frames. UN's ambition, yes, the frame. Um, you can see that there. Um, so is everyone eventually expected to get an ID? Likely, right? Let's go further down. So it says, in summary, yes, universal ID, digital identity is a long-term goal supported by the UN and many global institutions. So it is something that they're looking into, and it's something that he actually mentioned that had me ask another question. I mentioned nothing about controlling the people. So it's actually kind of making the statement without saying it. And so I catch that. I said I mentioned nothing about controlling the people. Is there a theory that has been presented? Yes, it is important to address this carefully and factually. It says yes, the idea of digital IDs are tools for population control is a theory that has been widely presented, and especially in online spaces, social media, and certain political circles. And pretty much in short, and you can see this here, we all know since for a very long time, the head apostles and elders of Great Millstone, starting with a head apostle Tahar, uh, and those that teach the likewise doctrines have always been saying that it's leading up to a point that the world leaders are going to implement um, Kuragma, which is, in other words, going back to that all that I mentioned in the beginning, where there's going to be um, a like I said, with the what's on the card, a chip that would be implemented, where they will have access um, over all those who receive it, and for everyone that receive it, this is where you go into this. They also have been talking about a universal income, okay, and so as you look at this further, because I'm gonna get the scripture, it says there these ideas are broader part of a broader digital control, says digital ID, central banking, vaccine support, AI surveillance. So, of course, on the other hand, it is to help and give you access and make it more universal. But again, as that gradualism and and us knowing that we're not ignorant of Satan's devices, okay, he has a full intent at the end, all right, to and and then going further down, because it says, bottom line, yes, the idea of the digital ID being used for population control is a widespread theory. And then, of course, they say no, there's no information, but yes, there are real risks worth debating. Then I asked, I said, what will happen if in theory the ID became mandatory, but a person decides not to take it? That is an important question. And here's the hypothetical. Okay, it says if an ID were to become mandatory in a specific country or context, the consequences of refusal would depend entirely on how the system is implemented and what services are tied to that ID. And it says further, it says limited access to services. All right, scroll down, opening a bank account, access to health, welfare. Okay, so that would be dealing with food, right, or education, applying for government benefits, which could be, that falls under a lot of things, using public service. So as you can see, voting, tax filing, driver's license renewal. Okay, so pretty much your whole entire life could very well be hypothetically, which we know the truth. Okay, those who are seeing what's being shown and what the apostles have been saying, the prophets know what this is leading to. All right, and so I just wanted to get that there, and then finally, let's get this the scripture. Actually, let's see if she had. Well, that was it. So let's get this last scripture. This is the book of Revelation, chapter 16 and 17. It says, "And he causeth all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a," you see that, Qudragma, it's uh, it's the word for that, the mark, right? The etch, the sketch, all right, in their right hand or in their forehead, and that no man might buy or sell save he that had the, as you can see, or the name of the beast, or the number in his name. So we are leading up to a point, right, that those who take it. Now, there is actually a judgment that comes along with it, and maybe on a different video we'll pull that up. But just to get right to it, the judgment for those who take it is going to be an enemy to Yahweh Bashim Shai, because you are now have pledged your allegiance, as I shown in the scripture in Deuteronomy, that you would like for this nation, Esau, Edom, the head elites, the Amalekites, to actually rule over you forever. But of course, when Yahweh Shah returns, he's going to destroy this system and this society and everything that's joined along with it. As the scriptures say, though hand join in hand, the wicked shall not go unpunished. So, of course, for all those who look to take it, they will be destroyed along with the system. So I hope that this lesson was edifying, uplifting, adorning to the elect body of true believers. Before I end, I'd like to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushai, Bahashem, Rahahakadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. Peace and salutations to the hopeful elect scattered throughout the four corners of the globe. And until next time, all those listening and learning to you, I say, Shalom.